I'm talking to perhaps one of the most familiar faces on TV and the big screen, James Cosmo, who stars in The Pyramid Text, which is released on digital platforms this Friday, the 28th. Congratulations on the film and your performance in particular. What a film. What a performance. I've got to admit, I was completely in bits by the end of it. It really got to me.
Oh, well, I'm glad it got you.
I needed a box of tissues.
Right, yeah. It's a emotionally powerful film, I hope. It's, to be honest, you know, I've been in the business for 53 years now, which to me sounds insane, but I have been an actor for 53 years, and it's the one performance that I wouldn't say I'm proud of, because that's a bit, you know, the hubris of saying that, but it's a performance where I thought, well, if I'm an actor, this was the best I could give, and that was the best I could give.
So how did you come across the story in the first place?
I met the writer, Jeff Thompson, about another project that they were trying to get off the ground, and Jeff and he's got a very interesting background, and we decided that we would have lunch one day, and then we had tea, then we had dinner,
You got on well, then.
and we just talked. We talked about the plays or films or whatever that we are both, where there is common ground for both of us that we would like to explore, you know, and to make something of depth and value. And so that was the end of it, really. And then I was in Tenerife filming on a movie, and I got an email from Jeff saying, this is the Pyramid Text, what do you think? So I finished filming that day, and I sat down, I started to read the script, and within 20 pages I had to stop because it was too emotionally powerful for me. And then the next day I carried on and read another 30 pages, and again had to stop. Third night I finished the whole thing, and I thought, it's a great piece of writing, but I can't do this.
So why are the
Because, well, I thought I can't do this, but I also knew I had to do it because it really plumbs the depths of a man's despair, and it is such a well-written piece that unless you commit to it totally, it would be disrespectful. And so I decided to do it, and I'm so glad that I did. But I can't say it was a fantastic experience. It took me a bit to get over.
I think anybody who's seen it will be glad that you decided to do it as well.
Thank you.
Obviously there's this boxing theme running throughout it. You're actually sat in a boxing ring. I wondered if there was anything in your background in terms of boxing that you were able to draw on, either as a boxing fan or maybe you've actually put on the gloves yourself.
No, I never stepped into the professional ring. I boxed as a youngster, as a kid, a schoolboy, and my son's a very talented amateur boxer. But I've always followed the boxing game. You know, it's huge drama. There's wonderful dramas in
Big
boxing.
characters as well.
Absolutely. But this film is not specifically about boxing. It's about a man. But yes, I find the vibrancy and the lust for excellence in boxing something fascinating. It's rather like gladiators of old, you know. And as an actor, you can see real drama going on there, you know.
And as you've mentioned, the sort of father and son aspect, and it's a really highly charged father and son story. And as you say, your son is in it as well. You only actually share the one scene together, and I'm not going to give the plot away. But I wondered what it was like acting together, and also being a father yourself. How much of that did you draw on for your performance?
I think as an actor, you draw on those personal relationships and experiences, you know, when you delve down into what the love of your child really means to you, you know, in a deep, visceral way. And so I was glad that my son, who's not an actor, agreed to do it with me. And as you say, we only share one scene together. The rest of the time I let him get on with it and do his thing, and I stayed away because I remember my father was an actor, and I only did a couple of shows with him, but I always found I was very intimidated by my dad, you know, so I thought I'll just go now.
It's nothing worse than your dad breathing down
Well,
your shoulders.
exactly, like, you know, like every kid, you know, who's joined the factory, whose dad's the top welder, you know, exactly the same feeling.
The script itself fascinated me because it's a monologue.
Yeah.
But it's also full of these classical references to Egypt and Greece and Rome's gladiators that you've mentioned. Yeah. So it almost sounded to me like something closer to a sort of classical epic poem in a way.
Yes, absolutely.
And I wondered what it was like to work with a piece that had been so carefully crafted and put together like that.
I was blown away by the intellect and erudition of Jeff Thompson's piece, and I didn't really want to touch it too much, you know, but I just found it, and I found the character that I play so interesting, you know, a man steeped in violence, in alcohol, in drugs, in from a very bad place, who becomes a sort of autodidact, and he has a knowledge of philosophies and religions, and, you know, that is immense, you know. But even with all that knowledge he has, that he eventually has to face who he is.
Because he's bottled it all up.
Yeah.
We don't cry in my family.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's kept it all within.
Yes,
so it's a really stunning portrait and a wonderful performance. I wonder if I could look at one or two other roles, because of course you're going to be back on the big screen in a few weeks' time in Whiskey Galore.
Oh,
the remake of.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that. What part are you playing in that?
Well, I play the Reverend McAllister or something, the minister.
Complete with dog collar.
Complete with dog collar and fire and brimstone coming out of every orifice. And it's written by, or the screenplay is written from the Compton Mackenzie book by my dear friend Peter McDougall, and he made a wonderful job of it. And it's not a remake; it's a revisiting of that novel. The original film was a delight, and has that cachet of, you know, the old black and white, these wonderful faces of the natives and things. So it was very interesting to see a different take on it, you know.
So has it been updated in any way, or is the setting still much the same?
The setting is the same, but maybe just the take on the whole situation is a bit more modern, you know. But it was interesting because, you know, the Highlands and the Western Isles, you know, playing the minister, and it's funny, you know, because he rants and raves. You know, it's a story about these islanders, and the ship goes aground and it's full of whiskey, and they hide the whiskey and all that sort of stuff. And the minister rants and raves, says you can't go out on a Sunday and things. And it's delightful. But in fact, you know, it's, you know, the power that those men had, those ministers, was way too much and stifled their society. And, you know, people were frightened to let their cockerels crow on a Sunday, you know, just appalling. But it's more of a light-hearted take on that.
And I said earlier, you're one of perhaps the most familiar faces on the small and big screen. I mean, just recently you've been in SSGB on TV. You're Renton's dad in T2.
Oh yeah.
If you go
very briefly,
If you go further back, you've been in Game of Thrones, and of course the one that everybody remembers you for, playing Campbell in Braveheart.
Yeah.
So lots of different roles, huge variety, so many of them. Is there any one particular one that stands out for you, in whatever way you like?
I suppose it would have to be Braveheart, because that raised my profile, if you like, to a different level. You know, I was a jobbing actor, as I am still. An actor is an actor, that's it. But that made movies much more accessible for me, for which I'm incredibly grateful. But interestingly enough, I've been thinking about, you know, films like Braveheart and things, and I think it's a thing to do with about getting older, that you realise that films about wars and violence and things, they shouldn't be glamorised too much. They shouldn't be romanticised too much. It's a real concern of mine.
So maybe the pyramid text is right for you at this stage in your
Absolutely.
life.
I do agree with you on that sometimes, if you're lucky, the role will come when it's right for you. When it's not right for you, the role comes and it's okay. But sometimes it's a symbiotic
It all comes together like
relationship.
a jigsaw. Yeah.
You know, and this, I'm a great believer in fate, and this was meant to be. You know, there was no way I wasn't going to do this. Yes, I think, again, talking about the pyramid text, it's dealing with the humanity of someone.
So is there a role that you've always wanted to play and has never quite come your way, or you've never had the opportunity?
Not anything that niggles with me. I've never ever played a romantic part, which I think would have been
Still
nice.
time.
Maybe,
Still time.
maybe sort of the autumnal years or whatever. That would have been interesting to explore. But I think because of my physicality and the way my career went, I was always asked to go and ride over people and cut them down with a sword,
Instead
but
of
never
give them a big hug.
never
yeah.
give them a big romantic kiss. No.
One more question. The other TV appearance that you've done this year, of course, is Celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a few months ago, so you've
Yeah.
got the benefit of hindsight. And I wondered if you could maybe describe that in 3 words.
Enlightening, appalling, and lucrative.
I'd love to ask more about the appalling one, but I think I'm going to leave that hanging there. James Cosmo, thank you very much indeed.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
you.